Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with REMAX, the Golfi Team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara edition with host Tim Dennis.
Do we call it a holiday edition? I guess, because it's that time of the year, and oh gosh, there's so much going on between interest rates and housing this and housing that. And let's talk about this last week. And what it's been like for you.
So a lot of things have been happening, and a lot of things were verified that did happen. So the one thing I really want to talk about is, and this happened to us in one of our listings, which we always read about stuff like this that happens to other people, other agents, and other provinces and other states. We had a house for sale. It was vacant. Okay. And so we sold it. Okay, no problem. It's sold, no problem. All good, all good. And then for some reason, probably about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the deal's supposed to close, there's people living in there. And so we had to call the police and say, hey, we got people living in this house, and they're trespassing and all this kind of stuff. So, this is a delicate situation because it could have been a landlord-tenant issue. And, you know what I mean? Depends how long they were in there. But they weren't in there very long. Thank God that the owner of the house was checking up on the house probably twice a week, right? So all of a sudden, they find these people living in there. So what happened, somebody cut the lockbox off the railing. Now, you have to have a pretty big, cutter. This is, they probably cost, over $100 to buy one of these things. Wow. So they cut the lockbox off the cutter. And to open up the lockbox, if you don't know the code, you need a sledgehammer. It's not something easy. It's easier to break into a house than it is to break a lockbox. But the reason why this guy did this is he wanted to have the key to pretend that he was the owner. He advertised the house for rent, and the first people that were willing probably to give this guy cash, first and last month's rent, boom, here's your key, go ahead, bam, he's gone, never seen again. They have no name of this guy, no phone number, nothing. And basically, he rented this house to somebody that he took first and last month's rent. So, So on a vacant house. So I don't know if this guy's got friends as real estate agent or he's a real estate agent. We don't know. I think we need to do some more investigating on this situation. But that's what could happen on a vacant house. So you got to be very, very careful on things like this. So what happened was these people had to be escorted out of the house because, obviously they're going to be frustrated. Where are they going to go? And they weren't, the people that moved in weren't probably the most, had great furniture, right? It's not, it wasn't the greatest area of town and stuff like that. Yep. So this guy, the first guy, he probably said, give me cash and it's your place. Here's the key. You're all set to go. And so they probably couldn't get credit anywhere else. They said, oh, wow, we got a place. Oh, this is great. And
in this economy right now, people would be jumping at that because, they don't have first and last, or they don't have, they're not going to pass a credit check or something. Yeah, I'll grab at that now.
Absolutely. And probably the rent was super good. Because this guy wanted obviously to get rented fast so he can get his first and last month's rent so he can go on to the next deal. And so you got to be careful. And that's why when you have when your house is vacant, you better make sure you have vacant insurance. Because if something happens to your house while the house is vacant, burns down, anything that flood, anything that happens to that house of yours, and it's vacant, and you haven't told your insurance company, and you call the insurance, say, hey, I've got a problem here, they will not cover you. So you better be careful. And vacant insurance is not cheap. I went to a house. It was in Niagara Falls, and the house was empty, right? Yep. And he goes, maybe there might have been one couch and a table and stuff like that. I said to the owners, I said, it was an estate sale, and I said, hey, the house is empty. I would be careful, hopefully check out the vacant insurance. Oh, I'm staying here, and I know he wasn't. You don't think an insurance investigator is going to know that that guy's not living there?
Yeah.
If something happened to the house, they're going to say, look, you had a table, a couch, no bed, and you're living here, and no clothes, nothing. They know. You cannot fool these people. They're looking for reasons not to pay. If you didn't put vacant insurance, you'd be in trouble. But it just shows you got to keep an eye on everything. Like there's so much fraud.
Is there a length of time after which you have to get vacancy insurance? I mean, if you've left it open, if you've left it empty for what, a week, 5 days, 4 days,
I think you're
vacancy insurance?
No, I think you're fine. You know, you're going away on vacation and stuff like that. Yeah. That's fine. But if the house is vacant and it's always vacant, they're going to talk to the neighbors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're going to say, hey, like, anybody living there? No, the house has been empty. You know, I see the guy once in a blue moon show up and you know, and they investigate. They will check it out. Like when I had, what was it? One of my houses, investment properties burned down. They talked to the tenant. They talked to the neighbors. And the tenant had tenant insurance, thank God, because his insurance paid for my house that needed to be put back together. And if he didn't have tenant insurance, it would go through my insurance. And I mean, they could have went after him, but he probably doesn't have the money to fix it. But you just need that tenant insurance, and because that'll save you. Now, if you had a fire on your house, like let's say it's just your own personal residence. And I've seen this, and there's a fire. Let's say the house burns down. That insurance company will cancel your policy after everything's all settled. They'll cancel it. And I've seen, and it's not just one time. I've heard it from 3-4 different people. Their policy gets canceled. And I even told one guy, your policy is going to get canceled within a year. And he goes, really? And I go, yeah. And then boom, within a year, boom. They canceled his policy. And then what happens is that's on your record. So no matter what insurance company he goes to, it's like a driving record. Whatever insurance company he goes to, his name is in the system, having a property that burned down. And even though it wasn't his fault, which I think is unfair, but his premiums are going to be a lot higher than anybody else would be on any house he buys.
Security cameras are pretty inexpensive these days. I mean, they're not free, but they're pretty inexpensive and easy to put in. Do you suggest a lot of people put them in? I mean, it may solve situations like your rental fraud. I don't know. I mean, more and more, do you, as a real estate guy, suggest that people put the security cameras at the front and back doors?
I think it's probably a good idea, but you need internet, right? So it might be worth just doing it. Like if you're going to keep the house vacant for a long time, and then you put like a nest, or what do you call it? A ring thing there. So if anybody walks on the front porch, boom, you know right away that somebody's entered on this property, and you'll know if they've entered the property or not. It's tough. All my properties, all my offices and stuff like that, I have cameras everywhere, and if somebody's coming and going after hours, I know it. I get a ding on my phone, and it says, "Hey, somebody's entered this property." I look, make sure it's one of our people. If not, then I'll keep watching to see if I can recognize the person, depending on how late at night it is. But yeah, like but the one thing is, definitely have the insurance on your vacant home. It's when something happens and you're like going, you know what, that extra $2,000-$3,000 for that insurance would have been worth it. It's like it's always good to be safe. I know it's expensive. I know, especially the times we're in now, everything's expensive, and insurance premiums, they're going through the roof. I'm always complaining to my insurance broker and say, "What's going on?" Like I complain.
You were searching for the right word to use. There,
yeah, yeah. I'm always complaining. I'm like, hey, you know what? And he knows. Like, and I go, is everybody else complaining, or is it just me? Like, no, and he goes, everybody is. So he is a punching bag for a lot of people. Like, I mean, I'm on him. I tell him, I keep him on his toes. I say, listen, I'm calling other insurance companies to quote me on this house. He goes, really? He goes, I thought you were my friend. Yeah. I says, we're friends at night. we're business during the day. Okay.
Yeah.
So I go, I don't care. I go, if I can save $2,000 or $5,000 on it, whatever, I'm going to do it. I says, you would do the same thing. Don't tell me you wouldn't. He goes, yep, you're absolutely right. I says, I'll give you a chance to match it. And if you can't, then you're going to lose that business. So, but the thing is, you got to watch out for vacant houses. And I've got a vacant house. And when this happened, I was sweating. I go, I got to get to that house because I was going to put it for sale, and I didn't want to rent it out because I'm going to put it for sale in the new year. And it's just like I'm having a little bit of a heart attack. Like somebody could be living in this house, and who knows how long they've been there. So you got to be very, very careful on that. But there is fraud going on. You got to be very, very careful on fraud, no matter where you are. Don't trust anybody.
There was a headline this week that I found kind of interesting because you and I have talked a lot in the last little while about buyer's market, seller's market, whatever the case may be. But the headline from the CIBC said, a buyer's market with no buyers. So how does that work? What's going on?
Yeah, and I've been saying this the whole time. We're in a dormant stage of this real estate, never seen in my career before, but it did happen in the early 90s. And I've been an agent since the beginning of 1998. Never saw this market at all. And we have inventory. We've got great prices. The opportunity is now to get in and buy, but they're not buying. They're sitting. Everybody's just waiting and wondering what's going on. But I'm going to tell you, the market is going to pick back up in the new year. And when it could be January, February, March, but it's definitely going to pick up in February, March. And realtors that are experienced and know the market, they're telling their clients, let's wait till the new year to get your house on the market and get going. Now, houses are selling. If you got a beautiful house done to the nines, and it's beautiful, there's nothing wrong, it's like a brand new house, it's selling. There was one house that sold in the last 2 weeks in Niagara Lake. It was over $2 million. I think sold for just under $2.4 million. Beautiful house, and it's sold in this market. So the buyer's out there, but if you have the house that's done to pristine. Now, they did have that house on the market for close to probably 9 months for sale before they got the price down to the where it's supposed to be. Now, anybody else that has a house and needs to sell now, you got to drop your price. If not, if you can hold off and wait till February, March, you will do well. But yeah, the supply's out there. The prices are good. Don't hesitate. If they're asking $850, go in at $800. You'll probably get it. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to put an aggressive offer on any house out there because it is a buyer's market. But it is quiet out there though.
Is it? I mean, I've asked you this 1,000 times, but is it just the mortgage rates that's holding people back? Is that they're just kind of sitting going, no, it's going to come down. It's going to come down. Now's not the right time.
You know what it is? I think people, you know what? There's a lot of news out there, a lot of noise. Some people are saying, and they're hearing the noise from the U.S. saying that there's going to be a crash of homes going down. We've already had that. We're done. That's it. We're floating. Now we're hovering, and it's going to stay there. And it may go up and down between 2 and 3%, 4% up and down, but we're there. That's it. But it's not going to. We're not going to see another crash of 10% going down. There's no way. We're there. We would have seen that already right now. But in the spring, you're going to see things. Things are going to be leveled off. I'm not saying you're going to get $100,000 more in February, March, April. You're not going to get that, but you are going to get a stronger price than you are now today. In December than of your house. You'll get a better price in the spring market than you're going to get right now. Now, if you have to sell right now, you got to reduce if you want somebody to buy it. The buyers are out there, but it's got to be a good deal. They're looking for good deals.
Been talking about where we are right now. It's coming to the end of this year, and with that, a lot of people may be looking at a brand new year with a mortgage renewal ahead of them. And the question is, what do I do? Variable, fixed, and if I go fixed, how long do I lock in for? Because nobody has the crystal ball that's perfect. What are you saying to people, Rob?
I say, so I gave you the rates. These are CMHC insured mortgages. So basically the insured mortgages are less than without the insured mortgages. Now, my opinion, 1 year open or variable. Take the short-term pain and then wait for the interest rates to drop. And when they get down to probably, close to 5%, lock in. And then lock in for 5 years, but that's if you plan on staying there for 5 years. But yeah, like right now, you can get a variable if you got a CMHC insured mortgage at 6.25. I know it's. I mean, I'm looking at it and thinking it's not a bad deal. I remember having a mortgage in the early 90s at 12, 13%. So believe me, it's not bad. Or you can go 1 year fixed. That's 6.79. It's a little higher because it's a 1 year. But I would do that. 1 year open or a variable. Take the short-term pain of those payments and see how the interest rates are. You'll save. It could be a quarter to 1 point within a year from now, and which I do believe will happen because they need to stimulate the economy to get builders building homes, and so you'll. That's my opinion, and I feel that I'm right. So we could play this back in 10, 12 months from now, and we'll see. We'll see if it's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crapshoot at some point. But listening to somebody like you, who's had your finger on this pulse for a while, it's interesting because I know people are looking at renewing and going, "Wow, my payments are up." 50%, 40%, 60% from what they were. Do I take a chance with a variable rate? What if something happens again and I end up paying 7 or 8%?
It's the roll of the dice, but it won't. Yeah. It won't happen. It is tough out there, and I get it. A lot of people are renewing. They're going from 2% to 6%.
Yep,
that's a big jump. It is a big jump, and I get it. And they're hurting, and that's why the restaurants are hurting right now. People aren't going out as much anymore. They're not spending the money. The restaurants are feeling the pain. That goes down the line. Also, probably the retailers people aren't spending as much on consumer goods. They're buying what they need. They don't buy what they want right now. And so they'll go to the grocery store more before they're going to go to the restaurant and cook for themselves and have something. So you got to be, it is a tough situation. But guess what? This won't be the first time these people will go through this in their lifetime. You know what I mean? Like I went through it in the early 90s, and I was in my early 20s. And so look at it 30 years later or whatever, 30, it's happened again. And so you just got to live through it. You just got to be tough.
Shopping around, though, is it worth talking to a broker? Is it worth... Because if you go to the bank, you're going to get one story.
Yeah.
You go to a broker, you may get another story. So it's worth shopping around when your mortgage comes up, right?
It is. Just go to your bank and say, if you got a mortgage with a bank, just say, listen, I'm going to shop around. So either give me the best rate if you want to keep my business, or I'm going to shop it around. They'll right away will work you a good rate because they don't want to lose your business. The banks don't want to lose your business because we know how much interest they're making off you. So they don't want to see business walking out the door. But they will help you with the business, like giving you a better rate if you ask for it. Now, don't expect them to do it if they just say, hey, I'm going to renew it. Go ahead and that's it. And they're just going to give you the retail rate, but you can get a better rate if you question them on it.
Go through just about any city in Canada, and you will see what they, at one time they used to call victory homes. Other people call them strawberry box homes. They were homes that were built specifically for veterans of World War II when they were coming home. And it's, they were well built, a lot of them. They were really well built, and some of them are still around. Are we at the point where that kind of strategy could be used again in this housing crisis that we're going through, Rob?
I think it can. Usually these homes don't have garages, and but they had bigger lots back in the probably in the late 40s and the 50s. Right. And they built these houses for the veterans coming in. There was a housing crisis. and this was the fastest way. They didn't have basements. A lot of these didn't have basements, and they went up fast, and people bought them, and they were living the Canadian dream of home ownership, and they were able to raise their family. And usually these homes were about 700 to 900 square feet, which is not that big. Usually 2 bedrooms. They have a living room, and they have a kitchen and 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Now, fast forward 50 years later, or actually 70 years later, we have a bigger wardrobe. So, I mean, they had a closet. Usually back in the 50s, the women probably had a couple of dresses and maybe, very little. The men had, a few pair. Like, they didn't have the wardrobe that we have today. And then also we didn't have the big 70-inch TVs back then. And our lifestyle is different today than it was back then. Now, they can build a 900 square foot home, pretty cheap, prefab, put it up quick. Yep. But the closets aren't going to be as big as they want to be. I mean, I think they could put a bigger closet if they want. 2 bedrooms. People will want a basement so they can store some stuff. Basements are important now, because people have a lot of junk. And then have double parking in front. Single car parking, it doesn't work. I mean, even townhouse complexes. I mean, they have 1 car in the garage and 1 car in the driveway, and that's all you can fit. And then every single person, I'd say between the ages of 20 to 70 years old, or let's say have a car. That's including spouses. Mm-hmm. So every household's got a car. So you and your spouse have a car each. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Everybody has a car. So when you build these townhouses, 1 car can be there. Then the complex doesn't allow you parking and the visitor parking. So you're scrambling every morning. Who's leaving first? And scrambling at night. Oh, you park first because you're leaving first. That's what's happening. The old car swap. So we back then they only had 1 car. Back in the 50s, household had 1 car. Now we have 2 cars and sometimes 3 or 4, just depending on who you are. But I think they can do it. I think they can do townhouses that you have double parking in front. That's like the shorter lots, double park in front, no garage, little patio in the back for a table and umbrella. And they can probably build these things probably for $450,000, $400,000, and put them up. But we just got to find somebody that's going to do it, because builders, how they make their money is profit. And profit, is there going to be a big profit for these guys to do this? I don't know, because they're giving up land. I mean, we got townhouses. I mean, that's almost kind of what it is. I mean, back then they didn't really build too many townhouses. It was more single family. Detached homes.
Our footprints were much smaller in those days.
Yeah.
And we've gotten used to bigger footprints now. And we've got a little bit of work to do, I would think, as a society, to kind of wean ourselves off of the fact that, one couple needs 2,500 or 3,000 square feet. We don't really.
No, exactly. We don't. I grew up in a house that was probably 1,200 square feet with 3 sisters. Yeah. And so, I mean, we had a finished basement. And, I mean, it was fine. I mean, I didn't know anything more. I mean, kids today are growing up in like a 3,000 square foot home, 4 bedrooms, finished basement, living room, dining room, family room, den, all that kind of stuff. And that's what they're used to. To me, I went back to a bungalow, what I grew up in, and I love it. I have a 2,000 square foot bungalow. Perfect. Just my wife and I are in there. It's perfect. I love it. I walk in. We got lots of room, 2 bedrooms, lots of bathrooms, finished basement. I'm happy with that. And and everybody that talks to me say, "Rob, I'm surprised you don't live in a bigger house." I go, "What do I need a bigger house for?" I go, "I'm living in exactly what I want." I said, when I saw this house, this was perfect. I go, "Bigger house means I'm going to use more or less space. You know what I mean? More space I'm not going to use."
I mean, other countries in the world have done this. Like Sweden has a program that, they were trying to build 1 million homes in a certain period of time, and they weren't all big. So we've got to maybe just adjust the way we're thinking in order to get this housing crisis in the rearview mirror.
We do. We just got to open up some land and say, okay, here's 100 acres. We're going to turn this 100 acres into maybe 1,000 homes or whatever. How many homes can you put on an acre? You probably could put 6 homes on an acre. So, 600 homes, and you've got lots of room. Put 2 cars. None of them have garages. You can't have garages if you want affordability. But this is a good stepping stone. And the one way to do it is, if you're an investor, you can't buy it. You're excluded. It's only for buyers that are looking to move in. And I think that if you eliminate the investors, it'll control the price of the home. But the investors will drive the prices up, because the investors will buy 2, 5, 6 at a time, and the builders love that, because once they buy them, they close. They're happy. They made their money.
Won't investors complain though that the government's involving themselves too much in their business?
Well, you know what? We need to give a chance to the consumer, the family that needs a home, and I think the investors have to stay out of it. Investors are the ones that all these high-rise condos, they wouldn't be built if it wasn't for investors, right? And because and the investors buy them, and then eventually, over a course of period of time, the consumer ends up buying them off the investor, or they rent them out. But in this circumstance of building these wartime style homes, I think there is a demand out there. We're in a different world right now. We have a shortage of homes. Immigrants are still coming into this country, and it's just gonna get bottlenecked, and everybody's gonna want one. And I think we have enough buyers out there that we don't need the investors, and we're trying to control inflation, inflation on homes. I think that's the way to do it. I mean, believe me, I would want to buy them, but you know what? I get it. We got to control this housing crisis that we have. 1, we have a shortage of homes. 2, when the interest rates start dropping, the builders are going to start building, and then the buyers are going to start coming around, and we're going to be multiple offer situation again in a few years. And the government is sitting in between a rock and a hard place, trying to figure out, okay, we need to build houses right now, but we're not built. But the builders aren't building because nobody's buying because of the interest rates. So that's why they're going to slowly drop it down, just to kind of ease the market. But you're going to see an abundance of people jump in. Probably mid-year next year, or even the end of the year. But 2025, it's going to be a busy year, and 2026, it's going to go crazy. You just watch.
Are you going to see more people coming to you looking for tiny homes or smaller homes, tiny homes, or do you have tiny homes that you're trying to sell right now? How big a part of your business is it?
It's a good part. That business is very popular, moves really quick. I love it. The house is like around 800, 900 square feet. They're small. They're nothing big, nothing fancy, but they're great for young people to move into. Even retired people, they're buying these houses. They don't want to clean a big house, and they just want some place just to have a nice little kitchen, nice living room, and a couple of bedrooms. That's it. And they're very popular. They're very popular right now. I could put my property up for sale that I have as vacant, and I probably wouldn't get any action on it. And if I do get action on it, people are going to be lowballing offers. So I'm going to put it up in February, March, and I'll probably get exactly what the value is, and go from there. But those homes that are probably 600 and under, they're popular. There's more people in that buyer point than anywhere else.
We were talking just before the break about a guy who was named Canada's Athlete of the Year in 2023. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has kind of parlayed being able to play basketball as well as anybody on the planet into some big bucks. But he's also in the midst of a legal issue that has to do with real estate in Ontario and in Canada. Rob Golfi, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah, this guy buys this house from this seller, and I think they did it through real estate. And apparently the tenant that was there before was there with the option rent to own. And he was paying, I think, $43,000 a month or something like that, $45,000 a month for rent on this $8.5 million house. So anyway, this guy got in a little bit of trouble because he scammed a lot of people out of money when they were investing in cryptocurrency on the market. So I think he like took $40 million or something like that. And he only invested 2% of that money into the crypto, and then he basically was living off the rest and enjoying life. But the thing is, a lot of bad people, not just regular consumers, invested with him, but some very bad people invested with him. So those are the people you do not want to mess around. So,
Yep.
so he basically had these people, looking for him. So he, left. He left the when he got in trouble, he left the home, and actually. Some of these bad people kidnapped him, and they went to the landlord and said, "Hey, we want $3 million so this guy doesn't die." And they beat the crap out of him. But the landlord says, "Hey, I got nothing. I got no qualms with this. I got nothing to do with this guy. So I'm not giving you $3 million. Go call somebody else for the $3 million, not me." So he's like, so this guy is on the hook. They didn't kill him, but he did get beat up. So when this basketball player moved in, people still thought this Platersky guy, this crypto guy, was still living there. So they were getting threats. They were getting threats that they were going to burn the house down. They were getting threats of, people are showing up at the door. So the basketball players,
Gilgis Alexander.
Alexander said, "I'm not going to live here. This is bad." And people are going to come here and thinking I'm this other guy, and they're going to kill me. So anyway, he left, and he filed a lawsuit indicating that they didn't disclose that the previous tenant or person that was living there had a lot of bad people after him. And so anyway, they went to court. The judge ordered for the seller to buy back the house. Ordered. This is the first time ever. This is going to change the dynamics of buying real estate. You better disclose, because the judge will make you come back and buy your house back if you don't disclose anything. Now, people disclose if there's a murder. People disclose if there's issues with the house. We always say, "Is there anything with this house that people should know about that?" And they will tell us, "Yeah, we do have a little bit of a leak in the corner there. Okay, let me take a look outside. Okay, there's a downspout that doesn't have a thing that's moving it away from the house." I will disclose that and say, "Hey, listen, he's had some leaks in the corner. We think it's the downspout. Didn't have the extension east trough there to bring the water away from the house." So we disclose that. Disclose that, if there was a fire in the house. Disclose if there's a buried pool in the backyard. You got to disclose it. If you don't, you can go back after the seller and get him to pay for it. But this is the first time that they actually are making the seller buy back the house. This is the first time.
How easy is it to find be aware of the history of your property? I mean, how difficult is that? Is that your job as a buyer to find out the history? Is it your real estate agent's job? Is it your lawyer's job? What's going on there?
It's actually the selling agent's job to disclose if he knows about it. The buying agent that's representing the buyer, he may not know what's going on with this house. He may, you know what I mean? But the seller does know. And I could see the seller thinking, okay, well, this guy's moved out. The problems are gone, right? He's moved out, but the problems weren't gone. They were still there. And so I don't know if because he was a basketball player, well-known person, he had some good lawyers that turned that. But because of that situation, seller beware, because if you're hiding anything, you may end up buying that house back or being sued to buy back. And it's totally changing the dynamics in the real estate industry.
So, just out of curiosity, how many people come to you over the past couple of years and have said, "I want to buy this house with crypto"? How much has that been a part of your business, or have you stayed away from it?
It's never happened, but if anybody did come to me, I says, "I'm not involved. I don't want anything to do with that. I don't understand it. I don't want it. And let's just go the normal way." And I'll tell you, I'd say probably 99% of the agents would do the same thing. Like like it's crypto has gone up. Everybody was making millions in crypto, and then people lost millions in a course of a short time. Everybody was bragging how great crypto is, and then all of a sudden, the people that got in late, they're the ones that lost big. It's always the guys that's late. If everybody's doing it, get out of it. That's the thing. If everybody's jumping in, then that's time to get out. So do the opposite. Just like real estate. Nobody's buying right now. That's the time to buy. That's where you get the deals.
So you want to move and you want to find a great quality of life. How about Cochrane, Ontario? Cochrane, Ontario, which is about halfway between the Manitoba border and Toronto, is selling some land pretty darn cheap in order to get people to go there. Tell me about this story and how smart or not smart you think it is.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, you can buy, I guess, a lot for $10. They're trying to, generate housing inventory and generate migration in this town of Cochrane, which is, halfway between, was it Toronto and Manitoba or something like that? It's about 8 to 9 hour drive from Niagara, and you can look at polar bears. I think it's probably a great town, like if you want to get away and if you want to look at polar bears and just go someplace cold and just maybe spend a weekend there, maybe build an Airbnb home so that people can go there, visit, and go in and get out. But they need to do something. So it's not a bad deal. I don't know, for them to give away land like that, obviously the migration is next to nothing. I think any kids that were born and raised there, there's a high probability they're moving out of that town just because there's nothing there. And, it's just like they're doing the same thing with the in Europe, like in Italy, in some little villages in Italy and in remote parts. They're selling homes that, are kind of run down, they've kind of been abandoned. And if you will sell it to you cheap, as long as you fix it up and hopefully people will use it. And that's what's happening in Sicily and in Italy and in different parts, whatever region that your home is in, which I think is, they're trying, right? They're trying. It's
Cochrane's a long way from a lot of places, though.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you go there. I wouldn't go there with an electric car, that's for sure.
No.
I would just say make sure you got a gas-powered car, because if you go there, you won't see a Tesla charging station probably forever, and then trying to get that car moving again. So that'd be tough. So I would definitely not do that.
All right, so let's bring it back to reality here in the area, here in Niagara, Hamilton, the area, and you have your eye on a home that has some history. They say it's got character. It's a historic home, and you've always wanted one. That's always been on your bucket list. Get a historic home, maybe fix it up a little bit. What are the things, as a real estate guy, what do you suggest to people when they're looking at a historic home?
So the one thing is, if you're going to buy a historic home, it is expensive. You got to be very careful, because a lot of these homes are plaster and lath walls inside. So sometimes the plaster is detaching itself from the lath because it's over 100 years old. You got to be careful with that. But foundation issues, I can guarantee you that if the house has weeping tiles, they're filled with mud. And it never been changed, or they don't have weeping tiles at all. So be prepared for that. Just have downspouts that go away from the house. A lot of these houses have stone foundation. I got a building that I bought, closed on. We were ripping everything outside with landscaping. We saw in the one corner there, the foundation was kind of breaking down. So we got our mason guy there, got to put some new blocks and stuff like that just to keep it, put it back to normal. You will get that. Foundation issues is a big issue. Electrical, you're going to have some probably knob and tube wiring in between the house, in the walls, probably on the second floor mostly. If it's a bungalow, it's easy to change because you got the basement. You can go up from the basement up to the main floor. But when you got a two-story with old knob and tube wiring, in which I had on my previous house, it was tough. I was ready to hire a guy to do it. He fell ill, so that got delayed. So, and then after I was working on getting somebody else, then I said I sold it. The person that bought it, I told him, listen, you got knob and tube wiring on the second floor, and so the second floor may have to be gutted. Asbestos. There's always asbestos, no matter where it is. You'll find it. Sometimes you'll see the pipes in the basement covered. There could be asbestos on that, so you got to be very, very careful. Another thing you got to be careful is the historical designation. Yep. You may not know it, but you got to be careful because you may not be able to change anything on the outside of the house. You may think, oh, you know what? Look at this porch. I want to change it. I want to make it look bigger, better, whatever. And then all of a sudden, you get a knock on the door as you're ripping it down. Say, hey, you can't do that. You have to make it exactly the same way that it was built. So that will cost you even more money because now you just changed your plans, and then you rip down something that is, you need probably good carpenters to duplicate what was there before. So, and usually the maintenance cost is expensive. I find that, like, I had a double bricked house, and chances are there's no insulation in the walls. Usually double brick, triple bricked. No insulation. Mold, you got to be careful for mold. Insurance costs could be more because of things that they know it's an older house. Sometimes there's a higher chance of maybe fires or whatever. Insurance companies, they're checking to make sure that all the wiring's updated. They're not, and a lot of these people have owned these houses for 50 years. Now they're selling, and they're not insuring the houses. They say you got less than 30 days to change the wiring. If not, you're not insured anymore. And so you got to be careful when you're looking at houses like that. And renovations are expensive. I find bungalows are the best way to go if you're a first-time buyer looking at buying a house and it's an older house. Go with a bungalow. 2 stories are very expensive unless you got the cash to do it. They're very expensive because just the dynamics of bringing like, let's say, heat and air up to the second floor can be very, very expensive. So you got to be very careful about Century Homes.
Bought an older home in Welland some years ago, and the top floor was always cold, drafty. So they thought, well, shouldn't take too much to put a forced air furnace into this building. That'll make sure that the top floor is a little better heated because it had an oil furnace in the basement. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They looked into how much that would cost to retrofit the house to put in forced air. And it was one of those, what you talking about, Willis, moments. Not a chance. So just be aware of that. What about going to resell them? How do Century Homes hold their value?
They do, just like any other house, as long as you take care of them. You just got to take care of these homes. Like I'll tell you, home prices double every 10 years. Now, if you don't take care of it, I mean, you're still going to do well, but if you take care of it, they'll probably more than double. And we have our newsletter that's going to come out in January. We're going to show you the 10 years in your area, how house prices went in the last 10 years. And you'll see that they more than doubled.
We have to go because we're out of time for this week. We will, you can be found anywhere. The Golfi Real Estate Show can be found anywhere. You can find your podcasts. Just go to Apple or Google or iTunes or Spotify, whatever, and just search the Golfi Real Estate Show and you'll find us. Rob, have a great week, my friend.
You too. Thank you very much.